What is up, everyone? It's that time again. It's time for another random comic book review with yours truly, Corey James. Thanks for joining me on this rainy, cold Sunday morning down here in the Suicide Moses Productions studio. If you're on the Suicide Moses Productions channel right now, then you're pretty close to that little subscription button. Click it. It's free. Why wouldn't you? So you can get all the content that we put up on this channel. We got the Strange Planet podcast on Wednesdays. We got the Wrestling Roundup on Fridays. And we got the comic book review on Sundays with me. We also have tons of music, bands being recorded down here in the studio, their albums releasing, some of my solo stuff, just tons of good content. All right, so grab your coffee and let's get started with the show. Because this week I received the first 3 issues of Marvel's new run called X-Men Black. It's a 5-issue release of villains from the X-Men universe. Each issue is its own running story. Now, why wouldn't you just pick one and go with that? Well, they get you here. So, basically like Marvel Legends, their action figure line that they do, it's a really good marketing idea to make money and get people to want to buy all your products. So, basically, each issue here has one chapter of an Apocalypse storyline. So you can't get the Apocalypse full story unless you have all 5 issues, which is the reason that I actually subscribed and I got all 5 issues coming. Okay, so let's talk about the villains that they're releasing. Issue number 1, you can get a little quick look here, is X-Men Black Magneto. So obviously that's badass. I definitely wanted that one. Was uber excited when they announced the second one, which was going to be Mojo. And then the third is Mystique, which everybody's a little on the fence down on Mystique, but I think that's just because you're kind of fatigued with her in the movies. The comic book character is actually really interesting and doesn't get utilized enough. I was actually kind of pumped that they were doing her. Number 4 is going to be Juggernaut, and then 5 is Emma Frost. And everybody's on the fence with Emma Frost too, and I don't know, man. The White Queen was huge back in the 90s. Like, she was up there with Magneto. She ended up running the X-Men for a while, so I'm curious to see where they go with her story. Alright, so let's start with Magneto. I just finished these this morning. The artwork and story and colors were done by Claremont, Talajic, and Alamara. So that's my first problem with Magneto. I'm not a huge fan of the artwork. I'm not a huge fan of this new style. Like, it looks like it was done on a computer. It doesn't look like it was drawn. And I think that's me being a person who does like to draw. I like the sketchiness of hand-drawn things, and I understand that we're in a new day and age and people are using iPads and you can get that slick colors and it's easier to fill in colored and all that stuff, and it makes it look like what that looks like. So that's just my first gripe right off the bat. I was disappointed in the artwork for Magneto. The black lines are too full. It was a little too cartoonish for me. I wish it was a little bit more sketchy. But storyline-wise, we have an old Eric Lansher. They're showing you that he's over it. Like, he's done his thing. He doesn't want to do this anymore, but he understands that he is the face of the mutant uprising and he can't stop. He has a new base established in space, which I always love that aspect. That's cool. He still has that. It starts off with him. Well, it doesn't start off with him, but when they show you his station in space, you think that he's fighting the X-Men. So it was cool to see the X-Men show up early. He kills Colossus. He just rips him into shreds, into ribbons of metal. That's cool. Wolverine comes up behind him and stabs him in the stomach, and then you hear his he calls her nanny. I don't know if she's actually his nanny, but you find out that he's basically in his own danger room, his own training facility, and the X-Men, he has the safety precautions turned off so that they can actually kill him. So he does actually get stabbed by a fake Wolverine, and he actually is hurt, but he says that, he has to, without consequences, then, it's not a real training, it's not real training. He needs to be in tip-top shape to fight the actual X-Men. So he didn't actually kill Colossus, which I was kind of disappointed in when I was watching the fight. I'm like, holy shit, he just killed Colossus, but then you find out that it was just a training thing, so it wasn't even real. So he's informed that they have opened a mutant facility prison in Texas, which is holding a bunch of children. So he decides that he's going to go there and he's going to liberate them. He's going to free them. So he shows up in no suit, just a regular dude walking up, says that it'll throw them off guard. They won't realize that it's not him. It's just an old man, Guards come out. One chick comes out in this sentinel armor. It's pretty cool. She beats the crap out of him for a minute, and then basically he's like, all right, now it's my turn, and he shreds her armor. He lifts up the facility, he pulls everyone out, rips their guns apart, gives a big long speech, and the chick that he was fighting at the beginning says next time if she gets the drop on him again, she won't be so hesitant to kill him. She's going to kill him. So I feel like that's a character they're setting up for future issues. So he gets in there, he gets the kids out, and this is the part that I really liked. He tells the kids that they have to come with him to be part of the uprising, and they're children. They still have a mindset of a child, which is a good thing. They haven't been tainted yet. So they ask him, why can't we just go home to our families? And he explains to them that you're now marked for death. You know what I mean? You can't just go back to your normal lives. And the one little girl basically says, this is the United States of America. It was founded on people fighting for their ideals and the right thing to do. And if we just abandon it, we're not doing it justice. So they want to go and they want to fight for their rights, and they want to fight to be treated as human beings. And that was I love that about X-Men. They always keep that real aspect of political fighting with, civilians and, fighting for your rights and what the greater good, the actual greater good, not what Magneto wants with the extinction of humanity and the uprising of the mutants, but a compromise, basically like Professor Xavier wants. But Professor Xavier's kind of went astray lately. So that's where that ends, with him liberating those kids. Did I like it? Am I gonna keep going with the Magneto? I don't think so. There wasn't much there. It was okay. It didn't have enough to keep me wanting to go on with it. Now, we get into the first chapter of Apocalypse, Degeneration. Man, do I love the artwork in that. The artwork in the Apocalypse chapters are done by Thompson, Nadler, Borges, and Rosenberg. Whew, it's exactly what I wanted. It's nice and sketchy. It looks hand-drawn. It's beautiful. Apocalypse looks awesome. And we find out that he is also old. He's finally, the blue body that we know, that we grew up with, is finally failing him. And he needs a new body to transfer into. So he's doing experiments on regular humans. This time he has a different plan. He doesn't want to transfer into another mutant body. He's actually using regular humans. He's lending them his regeneration abilities. And then he built a machine called the Finch, where it's supposed to replace dying cells with perfect cells, so the body will never degenerate. When he goes to try, I think he's on his, like, it shows 3 bodies and they all have printed letters on them, ABC, and they all failed. He's on D now, and he thinks he's perfected it. So he goes to try to transfer his consciousness into this body, and something goes awry that transfers him through time and space. Time mainly, because he sees all aspects of time, and he sees his death. He sees when he was born, and then I think it goes before, maybe after. We don't know yet. He ends up in a land that he doesn't really understand where he's at or what he's in. But this is the really cool part of this story, is we instantly get him transferred. We get to see a vulnerable Apocalypse. For the first time in a long time, he's just a normal human. And as the story starts progressing, he says that he's losing his intelligence. He's losing his powers. He's actually devolving. It's really cool. So that was the chapter 1 of Apocalypse in Magneto. So let's move on to Mojo. Mojo Rising is the name of the issue. And I was really pumped for this one. And the artwork's pretty cool. It's definitely better than Magneto. But the storyline. Okay, so he got transferred to Earth. At some point in the adventures between X-Men and Mojo, he got transferred to Earth. It starts with him coming up with a plan to kill all the new X-Men and bring us back to the originals. He says he basically as like a viewer, basically like us, with our nostalgia saying, oh, I don't want the new X-Men. Why are they always introducing new characters? I want my old uncanny X-Men. And you hear people say that all the time. So it's funny to see from someone's perspective in a comic book, in the X-Men universe. But from an outside perspective, because that's how Mojoverse works, he's always watching the X-Men on TV like they're a TV show. So he says he misses the originals. He's going to kill all the new X-Men so that the original Uncanny X-Men can come back. So that's cool. That's a cool setup. I was kind of pumped. But then we enter the story. And he's living in New York City. He's fallen in love with this girl. He's pursuing her. He meets this pink blob dude has a skeleton in it. I don't know. The pink skeleton dude starts helping him try to pick up this girl. They end up going to the Professor Xavier's School for the Gifted. And as he's trying to pursue this girl, his right-hand man throws in this Sentinel that's half something, half Sentinel, and he starts beating the crap and killing all the X-Men, and you get X-23 showing up, and she's fighting, and you get this dude called Rockslide. He's pretty cool. But Mojo sees that his girl that he's pursuing is in danger. So he stops the whole thing. He actually blows up the Sentinel, saves the girl, and then tries to make it look like, oh, the show's being canceled, but I'll be back. But he just wanted to save the girl. So it was kind of like a pointless story. So he takes the girl back, and he says he's coming up with a new evil plan to take down the X-Men, but then he's getting text messages from the girl saying, oh, I had fun last night. When do I get to see your place? So then he's like, oh, never mind. The script's not ready. I got to worry about my girlfriend. And then that's it. That's where it ends. I don't want to see Mojo in a relationship texting on a phone in a comic book. You set up this great plan to take down the X-Men, and I'm assuming this is a setup to bring back the Uncanny X-Men, which is coming out in November. But that story was it just fell flat from the get-go. So I was disappointed in that story. Moving on, we get to chapter 2 of Apocalypse, where he's in that crazy land that he doesn't understand, and he's devolving. His armor's getting knocked off as he fights these crazy bugs and these gigantic bees and these flowers that sing and stuff, and he's losing his mind. He's losing his ability to actually think and talk to himself, so the dialogue in it is getting more primitive and harder to read and harder for him to think. Really cool. He fights these bees. They tear his freaking armor off, so he's just completely devolving. Like he's a naked old man now running around trying to fight for his life. And he says like, I can't be a god when I'm feeling pain and I'm afraid. I mean, that's basically where we're at with that one, that chapter. Moving on to issue, well, not number 3, number 1 for Mystique. Was probably the best of the 3 because we get a really cool style with Mystique where she's constantly on the move and she's constantly almost every panel she's a different person and she's talking to herself and showing you that she's a badass and how she goes through her daily life. And then she gets this mission. She goes to this hotel. She puts like poison in the water mains to kill this one dude. She steals this data and she saves this one mutant that's being held captive there. But that's about it. That's about what happens in that story. I mean, it was the coolest one, but then nothing happened. Like, she kills a bunch of guards. That was one page, and that was really cool. But other than that, you didn't get really any story out of that. But we did get Apocalypse Chapter 3, where it seems like some time has passed. He's now... Apocalypse is straight caveman. He's got a beard. He's got long hair. He's wearing this, like, fur... get up that he obviously killed an animal to clothe himself. He's carrying around a bone as a weapon. He's carrying the broken finch on his back, trying to make sense of what's happening. He's losing his cognitive speech. Like, he can barely talk now. He can barely think straight. He sees primate, like, upright walking cave monkey people and thinks, oh, maybe these are friends, maybe they can help me fix this machine on my back. And they're killing and eating this animal, and he ends up fighting them and getting hurt, and he kills them all. And then this big explosion happens, and they all run away, and he turns around, and you see these, like, almost apocalyptic looking humanoids standing there glowing, looking like they've evolved way past humans, and the one has a D on his chest. Boom! So the dude that he did the experiment on at the beginning, who he was trying to transfer his consciousness into his body, obviously got Apocalypse's powers. He got the never-ending, he's not going to die, he's never going to degenerate. He probably evolved way past what Apocalypse was. So we have this new figure standing there who's obviously basically the new Apocalypse, but Apocalypse is turning into a caveman. It's crazy. This story is so good, and I'm pissed that I mean, it's a cool idea for them to make money, but you just gave me 3 lackluster, slow, boring stories with a chapter in each one of them of an amazing Apocalypse story. I really wish that after these 5, the Apocalypse goes on its own, because so far I haven't read Juggernaut, I don't have it yet, and I haven't read Emma Frost. But if they make the Apocalypse its own series, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm probably going to subscribe to. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to go for the Uncanny X-Men come November. I might, because I've always been a fan of Uncanny X-Men, and the pictures that they keep advertising look pretty cool. I love Nightcrawler with the beard. Looks awesome. Speaking of advertisements, man, these advertisements in this thing are going to be the death of me. Like, each one of them, if I can find it real quick, has this advertisement for the 1/8 scale collector's gallery statues of Wolverine. You got the Wolverine from 74, 80, 92, and 08. And they all look so badass. But I can't spend any more money. I'm already spending enough money on comic books. I got Juggernaut coming next week. I got Emma Frost already pre-ordered. I got 7 to Eternity coming within a week or two, and then another issue in December. But yeah, so that's my review on the first 3 issues of X-Men Black. Like I said, kind of fell flat on some of them. They're not bad. They're just not what I expected. The Apocalypse was definitely worth it, even though I'm only getting a chapter per issue, which sucks. So next week, hopefully I'll do a review either on... I might wait until I have Juggernaut and Emma to just wrap it up, so it might not be next week. It might be the week after. Next week I might do 7 to Eternity Volume 2. I'm not sure. So you'll have to come back and find out. Thanks for watching. Like I always say, if you haven't, like, share, subscribe the Suicide Moses Productions channel. It helps us out. It helps get our content out to more people that like this kind of thing. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great Sunday and a great rest of the week.